You cannot change the past. One of the great rules in life is never be upset about something you can't change, and you can't change a past event. So what we do is just let the past events go. Probably 95% of all unhappiness is caused by past events, which can't be changed anyway. The only limit on what you can accomplish is the limit you place on yourself by your own thinking. This was such a breakthrough to me. Every time I look at that, I think, geez, that's interesting. Wow. The only limit on what you can accomplish is the limit you place on yourself by your own thinking. So if you change your thinking, everything changes for you. Just imagine that there's 1 in 1,000 probability or possibility that you could achieve an income goal of 10 times. Just 1 in 1,000. Yeah, there's at least one chance in 1,000 that's possible. Well, could there possibly be 2 chances? Maybe 3 chances. What could you do to increase the probabilities? And once you start to think like that, your thinking begins to change from, no, it's not possible for me, to, I wonder how it would be possible. What would I have to do to earn that kind of money? And now your whole creative mind opens up, and you start to think and see possibilities that you never saw before. So let's say you don't make it to 10 times. Let's say you only make it to 8 times, or 5 times. What a tragedy. But the thing is, the starting point is to start changing your thinking about what's possible. Why are poor people poor? Because they think poorly. My friend Charlie Jones has a beautiful home. He's a very successful speaker and lives in Santa Barbara. And he grew up on a farm in Oklahoma, and his father drove out from the farm in an RV, drove out and visited him for a couple of weeks in Santa Monica, and then he was heading back. And he saw his father pounding away on something under the car, and he said, "What's wrong?" He said, "Well, my brakes are gone." Sort of pounding off the brake, the pipe which has the brake fluid in it, and I'll just be able to sort of pump it and until I get back to Oklahoma, and then I can get somebody to fix it for me inexpensively. He said, "Dad," he said, "that's crazy. You can't drive all the way back to Oklahoma with no brakes." He's going to use the emergency brake and everything else. He said, "Oh, let's get it fixed." He said, "Well, it costs a lot of money in a place like Santa Barbara." I said, "What are you talking about?" I said, "What if the brakes failed on a grade or on a winding road or something like that?" He said, "You could die." He said, "Why is it you're so cheap?" He said, "Charlie," he said, "poor folks have poor ways, and it's really hard to get over. Poor folks have poor ways." Always remember that. Poor folks have poor ways. They think poor. They think cheap. They think saving. They think spending as little as possible. They think how little money they have. You find that successful people have just successful thinking. They think very, very differently than poor people. And so remember that. Poor folks have poor ways, but rich folks have rich ways. The most important part of becoming a millionaire is not the money, but it's the person you have to become a millionaire. You have to become a totally different person to go from zero to being worth more than $1 million. But the good news is that if you lost all of your money because of a crash in the economy or something else, you can make it all back again because now you're the kind of person who can make it. Once you become a millionaire in your thinking, then it's only a matter of time before you quickly restore that amount of money in your reality. So the starting point is to change our thinking, which we have said over and over again. It's really important that you realize that you have everything that you need within you right now to achieve everything you could possibly dream of in life. So let's talk about session 1, the psychology of achievement. We say each person has a success instinct. Now what does that mean? Is that every person has an innate drive toward the realization of their full potential. This is installed in you. You see children, they want to touch and taste and smell and feel and get into things. Adults are always wanting to improve themselves. Everybody is ambitious to a greater or lesser degree. The only thing that restricts what you have is your own thinking. What you think is not possible for you, you wish you could, you wish you would, and so on. But everybody has this drive toward success. There was a wonderful line that said, within each person is an inherent drive to the full realization of their potential. In fact, my mentor, Ernest Holmes, said that all negative emotions come from frustrated potential. At the root, your negative emotions, your negativity comes from feeling that you could do or be far more than you are. It's only something that is holding you back. And then we make the mistake of thinking that the something is ourselves, and as soon as you think of that, you move from active to passive. I think if you take the 80-20 rule in our society today, 20% of people are proactive, like yourselves. You take the time and the trouble to do things, and then about 80% are passive. They're wishing and hoping and waiting and kind of have given up, and they hope that something will come along. That's why they buy lottery tickets. Do you know that 68% of young people today, when you ask them what they want to be when they grow up, you know what the answer is? A celebrity. They want to be a sports celebrity, a musical celebrity. They want to dance with the stars. They want to sing with American Idol. They want to get into sports. They think that their future, 68% of their future, is to become a celebrity, which, as you know, is one chance in hundreds of thousands or millions. And that's their thought. That's why they're so obsessed with all of this Facebook and Twitter and all the Oprah. The front page newspaper, Oprah's last appearance. I don't know about you, but see, Oprah's on in the afternoon. Now, if you're watching Oprah, it means your life sucks. You don't have a life. So all the people watching Oprah are people who are at home in the afternoon, who got nothing going and nothing to do with your life, and yet people are obsessed with Oprah, Twittering Oprah, Facebooking Oprah. Spend as much time with your kids as many people spend with Oprah, and you have a wonderful family. So before we start talking about becoming more successful, we have to talk about is what is success. So number one ingredient of success is peace of mind. Peace of mind occurs naturally in the absence of fear and negative emotions. If you look at all spiritual doctrines, all religion, all meditation, all philosophy, all great thought, and all of history, it is to bring people to the point of thinking where they enjoy complete peace of mind. The rule is that if you set peace of mind as your highest goal, you'll probably never make another mistake. If you set peace of mind as your highest goal, everything else will fall into place. And if you achieve everything else in the world, but you do not achieve your own peace of mind, you'll consider yourself a failure. You'll be unhappy, you'll be frustrated, you'll be irritated, you'll be angry, and so on. So peace of mind is the critical thing. And so you have to keep asking yourself, what are the things that occur that give me peace of mind? When do I enjoy the highest level of peace of mind? And when you have no fear and no negative emotions, your mind is like a vacuum. What flows in is complete peace. When you have solved all your problems, when everything is fine, you just feel completely at peace. And those are what are called the peak experiences of your life. Those are when you are the happiest of all. And this is not something that occurs accidentally. You walk along and you trip over some peace of mind and pick it up and put it in your pocket. You have to deliberately design your life so that you feel a great sense of peace. And of course, an extension of that is happiness. Aristotle said the ultimate aim of all human behavior is to be happy, just to achieve your own happiness. When I read Ayn Rand's material many years ago, she said the ultimate measure of how well you're doing as a human being is how genuinely happy you are. And if you can accomplish everything else in the world, but you're not a happy person and you don't enjoy inner peace, well, then to that degree you failed. And you read these stories of people who are extremely successful, make an enormous amount of money, they snort coke, they drink themselves into oblivion, they go on tours around the country like Charlie Sheen, and then some of them go home and shoot themselves. And they've got all this money and all this fame and all this glory, but they have no, terribly important, 85% of the success you enjoy in life will be determined by how well you get along with other people. If you are having problems with other people, that will immediately interfere with your peace of mind and will very quickly interfere with your health. Most illnesses today are psychosomatic in origin. The mind makes soma, the body, ill. And why is it? It's because of anger and frustration and problems, almost always with people. But 85% of our problems come with hair on top and talk back. So you measure a loving relationship by how much you laugh with the other person, how much you laugh. And this is really the critical measure of the health of a person. A person can't say, well, I don't laugh very much, but I'm really healthy. No, sir, you have a lot of problems. Because human beings are the only creatures in the world that laugh. Did you know that? Is they actually laugh, and they laugh spontaneously. And the laughter comes from inside. It comes from the soul. It comes from the heart. It comes from everything in the outer world being fine. And so the more you laugh, the healthier you are. Do you remember Norman Cousins, who became grievously ill as a result of inhaling terrible diesel fumes in a Moscow hotel? And he came back, and they said he's going to die. His whole body was just falling to pieces. And so he moved out of the hospital to a hotel room near the hospital so he could get treatment. And then he had his wife bring in a whole bunch of videos with comedies on them, comedy skits, Groucho Marx, those brothers. Pardon? Yeah. And what it is, he just started watching comedies and laughing, and he laughed his way back to health. And he wrote the book called Love, Medicine, and Miracles. He said the most amazing thing is the more you laugh, the healthier your body was, the stronger the immune system became. The illness that was cursed him to die went away, and he spent the rest of his life just talking and teaching people how important it is to be happy and healthy and optimistic and to laugh a lot. So laughter is how you can tell if a relationship is going well. Financial freedom is a real big issue today. Financial freedom means that you don't worry about money. Worries about money, by the way, are the number one reason for marital breakdown. Worries, disagreements, arguments over money. So if you have problems with money, they affect your relationship. If you have problems with your relationship, they affect your health. If you have problems with your health, it affects your peace of mind. And money is a major issue. We've been living through the most affluent country in the most affluent time in all of human history for the last 50 years. We've grown up in a level of affluence that is unimaginable for 95% of the world. And we've come to believe that this is what we're entitled to. One of the things that is leading to major social disruptions is a lot of people are finding that it's not true anymore.
Rules you can apply to any challenge that you face in achieving anything you desire. Rule number 1, the most important key to achieving great success is to decide upon your goal and then launch. Get started. Take action. Do something. Move. A 12-year study at Babson College concluded that the act of taking the first step is what separates the losers from the winners, or the winners from the losers. We set out at the age of 20 with $300 each to cross 3 continents and travel 17,000 miles from Vancouver on the west coast to Johannesburg in southern Africa. And we made it in just under 12 months. But the most important step was the first one. All the rest followed from that. Number 2, once you've launched towards your goal, never consider the possibility of failure. The Germans have a saying, it's immer vorne, nie zurück. Immer vorne, nie zurück. And it means always forward, never backward. Always forward, never backward. Never consider the possibility of failure. Every person here is here because they refused to quit when the going got rough. Your ability to persist in the face of setbacks and disappointments is vital to all great achievement, and it's always a decision that you make. It's not the external environment, it's always the internal environment. Number 3, the biggest goal in the world can be accomplished if you just take it one oil barrel at a time. Thomas Carlyle once wrote that our great business is not to see what lies dimly at a distance, but to do what lies clearly at hand. The only time you will ever have is now. If you live every day, every hour, the best you can, the rest will take care of itself. As the Bible says, sufficient unto the day are the cares thereof. Number 4, watch out for the naysayers. The negative people around you are always telling you that you'll die in the desert. Get around positive people. Get around winners like people in this room. Fly with the eagles and refuse to listen to objections and reasons why you can't succeed. Someone once said that if every possible objection must first be overcome, nothing will ever get done. And truer words were never spoken. Number 5, welcome obstacles and difficulties as valuable and inevitable steps on the ladder of success. Remember that difficulties come not to obstruct, but to instruct. Difficulties come not to obstruct, but to instruct. Our trip to Africa was one problem after another. We ran out of money over and over. We strained every muscle of our bodies trying to ride bicycles across France and Spain. Our Land Rover broke down again and again. We suffered from dysentery and heat stroke and exhaustion. But when it was time, we were ready for the Sahara crossing. In retrospect, we saw clearly that without the lessons that we had learned from our mistakes, we would have surely died in the desert. And when you look back on any achievement, you will find it was preceded by many difficulties and many lessons. They are the price that you pay for your success, and no success is possible without them. Number 6, be clear about your goal, but be flexible about the process of achieving it. Be willing to change, to try something new. Keep your mind open and fluid and flexible. Be willing to accept feedback from your environment and correct your course. This is a key quality of peak performers. They're not rigid, they're flexible. Remember, it's not what you have, but what you do with what you have that separates winners from losers. It's not what happens to you, but how you respond to what happens to you that counts. In the final analysis, your response to the adversity of life is the real measure of who you are and what you're made of. The Greek philosopher Epictetus once said that circumstances do not make the man or woman, they merely reveal him to himself. When you find out who you really are when you face adversity. And remember, number 7, the last rule is, nobody does it alone. At every step on our journey across Africa, people helped us with advice and with food and with assistance and with money, but especially with warmth and with kindness and with generosity. When life is over, it will be the people that we lived and laughed and loved with that we remember more than anything else. So don't be afraid to ask for help from others. It's a mark of strength and courage and character. And don't be reluctant to give of yourself to others generously. It's the mark of caring and compassion and personal greatness. The reason the Sahara story was so relevant for me was that because after the Sahara, I never felt that there was anything I couldn't do. I felt programmed for success for life, although it took me many years to understand it. And the reason why this story may be of interest to you is because I believe that everyone has a Sahara to cross, perhaps more than one. Many of you are crossing your own Saharas right now. Everyone eventually goes through periods of great difficulty, their own private hells, their dark nights of the soul. But it is by facing whatever life gives us with courage and determination that we grow more surely toward the stars. Let me leave you with the last verse of Carry On. There are some who drift out in the deserts of doubt, and some who in negativity wallow. There are others I know who in piety go because of a heaven to follow. But to labor with zest and to give of your best for the sweetness and joy of the giving, to help folks along with a hand and a song, why there's the real sunshine of living. Carry on, fight the good fight and true. There's big work to do. Believe in your mission, greet life with a cheer. There's big work to do, and that's why you're here. Carry on, let the world be the better for you. So at last when you die, let this be your cry. Carry on, my soul, carry on. If you will resolve, with whatever life hands you, to carry on, there is nothing that can stop you from achieving the greatness for which you were created.
Successful people think slowly about important things in their life. And consequences says, you always ask, what are the likely consequences if I do or don't do this? And everything in life is consequences. And the true measure of how really smart you are is your ability to predict the consequences of doing something or not doing it. Quality of your thinking can be measured by how accurately you predict what will happen as a result. One of the greatest thinkers of history, a man named Frederick Bastiat, said the same thing back 200 years ago. He said that the primary consequences of everything you do are good. You eat this, drink this, do this, because the primary consequences are good, or why would you do it at all? He said, but it's the secondary consequences that are more important than anything else. And your ability to accurately predict the secondary consequences of a behavior determines your whole life. One of the reasons that they belong, one of the things that they get, is they get ideas that can affect their lives and work long term. So truly superior people are long-term thinkers. And they make the sacrifice, and they travel, and they invest the time and the money. And it's all aimed at long-term results, consequences, what happens as a result of what you do, and then what happens, and then what happens. Pick your most important task each morning and start on that task and discipline yourself to work on that task nonstop until it's done, and don't do anything else. If you can do this, which takes tremendous character, takes tremendous discipline, it takes tremendous mental strength. If you can do this, the first time you do this, it will be very hard. You will be so distracted, and you want to check your emails and make a call and get some coffee and so on. And what you have to do is you have to discipline yourself to stay at that, wherever you are, and do that task until it's done. Then give yourself a reward. You get up in the morning, start on your most important task, and discipline yourself to stay at it till it's complete. Then your reward is to check your email. But unfortunately, what do most people do? Is they check their email in the morning and in the afternoon and in the evening. They get up at night. They just always checking their email. And each time you check your email, they estimate it takes 17 minutes for you to get back to work. It takes 17 minutes for you to get settled down and back to work and so on. And then somebody sends you an email and it goes beep, and you stop you're doing and you check your email again. And the email is one of the most wonderful communications devices in the world, but it'll kill you if you just keep checking it. So what you do is you turn it off. I always say, leave it off. Leave it off. Start your task and discipline yourself, and your big reward when you finish your most important task is now you can check your email. And if you can do that, what happens is you start to become so productive. So many people have told me that they became millionaires with the eat that frog concept. Just start. But if you can't do that, by the way, you'll always have to work for someone else who can discipline you to do it. Someone who will supervise you, someone who will check on you. What will happen is you'll always be in the bottom 80% and never be a big success. And remember this 80-20 rule It bites you in the bum all the time. And 20% of people make all the money. The 80% of people, why do you think we're having riots today? Who do you think's rioting? Certainly not the top 20%. They're busy making money. It's the people in the bottom 80% who are frustrated and angry and upset and so on because they have too many bills, as they say, too much month at the end of the money. They don't know how to get out of it. The answer is make a list of what you have to do, pick the most important task, and work at it till it's done. Your whole life will change. People say, what's the key to success? You just had it. And there's no shortcuts, and it doesn't take any genius. It just takes starting and completing your most important task.